Well, welcome. I'm so glad you chose to spend your valuable time with us here at the Art of Feminine Negotiation. And today you're in for a real treat. We've got the opportunity to be chatting today with John Kippen about negotiating your life using your difference as your superpower. So, welcome, John. It's so great to have you here. I'm looking forward to our chat.
I'm excited too, Cindy.
And for those of you who may not know him, John is the CEO of a successful IT company, but he's also a motivational speaker. He's a success and life coach. He's an award-winning film producer, and he's also the author of the book Playing the Hand You're Dealt, which has been endorsed by none other than the infamous Jamie Lee Curtis. And as if that wasn't enough, he's also a world-class magician. So when I heard about John, I thought, gosh, so much of that story really resonates with me. We've got to get him on the show so you have a chance to hear his story. So, John, digging in, you've had, I think it's fair to say, anything but a sort of conventional journey. So, I'd love if you could take us back to the defining moment, if there was one, that set your life on your extraordinary path and how it shaped your sense of identity.
Absolutely. So before we start, I want to say that if your listeners get to the end of this podcast, I will be providing a link so that you can download a digital copy of my book.
Fantastic.
So listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was born upper middle class family, two loving parents, single only child, had everything I needed. Loving parents, went to a good school, got into theater. I liked to be on stage. And college, I did the same thing, was a theater major, was really good with computers growing up. And I was able to start my IT consulting company out of college, bought a house. Everything was going well, was in a relationship. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, my world ended. Oh, so I thought,
Yeah.
because I was diagnosed with a 4.5 centimeter acoustic neuroma brain tumor the size of a golf ball.
Wow.
And it started out just making me deaf in my left ear. And then it started making me dizzy to the point every standing moment I was dizzy and vertigo set in.
Yeah.
So, of course, I rushed to the doctor and they did hearing tests and couldn't find anything wrong and so frustrated.
Yeah.
And then finally, I found when I couldn't take it anymore, and I found a doctor on part of my medical plan who said, let's get you an MRI. And I went to the MRI center and being claustrophobic, that was a chore in and
Oh,
of itself.
I bet.
And finally I got some sedatives and got in the tube, and an hour later they're pushing me out. And I went to the front desk to the receptionist and I said, how much to buy those films that you just printed? And she said, oh, no, 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 those go to the radiologist. He reads the films and then writes a report and sends it to your doctor. I said, no, 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 no. How much for that set of films? You can print another set
Yeah.
for the radiologist. And she didn't ever been asked that question. So she got on the phone, talked to Roba's manager, and they said $300. So
Yeah.
out came my credit card. I bought those films, and I immediately drove to my ENT's office without an appointment.
Smart.
Walked through the front door. He saw the concerned look on my face and said, all right, come on in. And then he took the first film and stuck it on his light board.
Yeah.
And he said, John, I see something, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I know someone you need to see. So he got on the phone and made an appointment with me with a specialist in downtown LA. And the appointment, unfortunately, was 10 a.m. the next morning. So I took the films home, I thanked him, and the next morning I walk into this ear clinic downtown, and I walk in and he puts the film up, looks at it, gets on the phone, calls a neurosurgeon in. Neurosurgeon comes in, has a conversation with the doctor. Neurosurgeon leaves, and my doctor turns around and he says, "Okay, John, you have a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor. It's displacing your brain and killing you. I've
Yikes.
pushed three patients so we can find a place for you a week from today.
Wow.
You're going to go deaf in your left ear. There's a small chance for some facial weakness after the surgery, and recovery is going to be 3 to 6 months." And he left the room. And there I'm sitting then on this examining table, with the tissue paper under your
Yeah.
butt, and I can everything is heightened, every
Yeah.
sense. And I went alone, unfortunately. never go alone to a
Yeah.
doctor's because you'll only hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So I went out, found him, brought him back in the room and said, I'm sorry, we weren't done. And she went over it a couple more times and I was like, okay, whatever. Met my parent for lunch. Anyway, so we showed up at the hospital the night before the surgery. I tried to get a good night's sleep. They rolled me into surgery at 7 o'clock the next morning. And the next thing I know, I'm counting five, four, three, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I wake up in surgical recovery. And I'm feeling like I'm 20 meters deep in a pool, trying to get to the surface because I can hear someone calling my name, John, John, and ended up being my dad. So finally, when I was awake enough, my dad was sitting on the edge of the bed holding my hand and smiling. But I looked around the room and I didn't see my mom. So I asked for my glasses because at that time I was pretty nearsighted. And I put on my glasses. And first thing, all of a sudden, I'm like putting on the glasses and realize my head is bandaged. So I had to kind of slide it in between my head and the bandage and get the glasses on. And I looked and I saw my mom. And she had a face, the look on her face was one of horror.
Oh, dear.
What did these butchers do to my poor son's face? And I didn't know really what she was responding to until I got up and went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror and I went, oh my God. So fortunately, the doctor came in and he assured me that he had every confidence that my facial paralysis would be temporary. So a week passed, and in the hospital, I went home and I started healing, and then I developed a complication of a spinal fluid leak, so I had to go back, and they had to reopen the incision, and then after a week, I started healing again, and but the facial paralysis you can see today never went away.
Hmm.
And so I found myself hiding from life. Found myself being home. Fortunately, with an IT consulting company and people work for me,
Yeah.
I could run the business from my house. So I didn't need to be out and about among strangers and friends. So I didn't want people who knew me before the surgery to judge me. I didn't want them to feel sorry for me. So I stayed at home,
Yeah.
and that lasted 12 years.
Wow. Wow.
And finally, I got fed up. And I turned to playing poker, semi-professional poker, because at a poker table,
Yeah.
no one cares what you look like. They just want your money. But then I was like, I don't want to develop friendships with these degenerate gamblers.
Yeah.
And then I saw a David Copperfield magic special on TV, which reminded me of my childhood love for performing magic. My uncle pulled a coin out of my ear when I was 5 or 6, and I was hooked. So I joined this private club in Los Angeles called the Magic Castle. And every once in a while, I'd watch someone and do a trick at a bar. And then I finally got enough courage to put together 20 minutes and I'd sit down at a table. And people would come to the table and watch me perform, but they were distracted. They were distracted by my paralyzed face because they were thinking, did he have Bell's palsy? Does he have a stroke? And that detracted from my ability to share my art through my heart and just get their attention. So I opened my show now with, hi guys, great to see you here. A little bit about me. My name is John. I've been doing magic all my life. But in 2002, I had a brain tumor. And when they cut out my brain tumor, like my head to get the brain tumor, they traumatized my facial nerve. Well, hence the paralyzed face. But something happened to me on the operating room table. Now, I'm not sure what it was because I was unconscious. All I know is I recovered. I realized I had acquired some new skills. And then I pause. And I wait for the audience to get on the edge of their chairs.
Yeah.
And I look to the right and left like it's the biggest secret. And I lean in and I say, guys, I am able to visualize people's thoughts. And from that moment on, now my brain surgery became a superpower.
Yeah.
And the audience now knew what they wanted to ask me. They knew the answer to the question they couldn't ask.
Yeah.
And they could focus on me and my magic and my storytelling.
Now, John, when you mentioned the superpower, I know you talk a lot about being different as our superpower. And
Right.
I'm curious, when did you first begin to see it that way? Like you say, you stayed at home for 12 years. So what was the twist for you where you saw it as a superpower rather than a limitation? And what helped you flip the script? I'm sure a lot of listeners out there have something in their life where they need to be flipping the script of how they're seeing their differences as a limitation somehow.
I was at the Magic Castle getting ready to do a show for a group, and this woman was walking down a hallway, and she was dressed all in baggy black clothes, and wearing a funny hat that reminded me of a witch's hat.
Yeah.
As she approached, I said, "Hi, how are you?" She stopped, but the look on her face was just leave me the heck alone. I could tell she didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then she continued looking for her group. So I followed her and caught up with the group. And I said, "Guys, you having a good time?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Yeah. But have you seen any really good close-up magic?" And they shrugged their shoulders. So I said, "Come on, let's go." And I took them to a table in the corner with a green felt so I could perform. And they sat around the table and I sat there. And the woman dressed in baggy black clothes, her name was Darren. And I put her to my right. And I made every magic moment happen because she did something.
Yeah.
I could tell she didn't want to be there that night, but she went along with it anyway. And I started performing. My goal for that 30 minutes was to get Darren to smile. That
Oh,
was it.
yeah.
That was it.
Nice.
So through my performance, all of a sudden she started sitting up straight and ditched the hat and started smiling and making eye contact. And I could tell she was in the moment.
Yeah.
So I finished my show, and then normally audiences would get up and they'd go on to something else. But this audience wanted more. So I shared the story about how I hid from cameras and mirrors for 12 years because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And that all changed August 3rd, 2017, when I went to my first magic convention in Las Vegas. And I was amongst the greatest minds in magic.
Yeah.
And I mustered the courage to go up and take pictures with these great mentors of mine. And then I got home and I uploaded the photos to my computer, and it dawned on me, if these great minds in magic had no trouble taking a picture of me, what was my problem?
Yeah. Nice.
And that was the beginning of my healing moment.
Yeah.
And I understood, not intellectually, but from my heart,
Yeah.
that my facial paralysis did not need to define me if I didn't let it define me.
I love that. I love that. I want to put a pin in that for our listeners again. You get to choose what you let define you. And, I see that as a form of negotiation. I think people think of negotiation and they always picture it happening across a table. But I love that. I mean, I think your story really reframes it as a very deeply personal, internal process. So, how is learning to own your differences shaped you in how you show up in your external negotiations as well, whether with people, systems, how you show up in the world? What would you say?
Learn how to be your authentic self.
Yeah.
Learn how to use whatever you're passionate about and wear your difference on your sleeve as a badge of honor. Don't shy away from it. Accept it.
Yeah.
And the minute you truly accept it, and again, not in the head, in the heart,
Yeah.
others will immediately accept it.
Yeah.
We all blow things way out of proportion.
It's so true. Yeah.
So, I help my clients, my coaching clients. My coaching practice is a resilience and empowerment coaching practice because I really help people understand the things that are holding them back from achieving their dreams.
Yeah.
And we work through that and help them be comfortable in their own skin and celebrate their differences as opposed to hide from them.
And I love that when you talk about like that radical authenticity, right? I mean, I think it can change the way we show up and then it changes the way people respond to us. Now, have you ever found that people tend to underestimate you? I think people who have differences in life, whether it's based on gender, or sexual orientation, their physical appearance, they often end up getting underestimated. And I'm wondering if that's been the case for you, and have you been able to ever leverage that when you're sort of negotiating your life?
You know, for good or bad, I live my life feeling it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And yes, that has bit me in the butt numerous times, but it's also given me some amazing experiences
Yeah,
that I would not have had
yeah,
without just doing it.
yeah. So
Not
true.
saying, do you mind or can I? I would just do it. And you'll find if you do that, people will go, well, you're halfway done. All right, I'll
Yeah,
let
it's so true. I made the mistake of teaching my kids that always growing up until they started using it on me. And then I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
you.
Now, your book, Playing the Hand That You're Dealt. I mean, I find that I love the title, by the way. Love that, the whole concept. And I think it implies both acceptance, but also strategy. So I'm wondering for you, John, how do you balance sort of acceptance of circumstances with a refusal to be limited by them?
There's no choice in the matter. Pretty much, you accept yourself for who you are and celebrate who you are,
Yeah,
or you wither and die.
yeah, I love that.
There's no in between.
Yeah,
People don't understand is when you come out as your authentic self, you become attractive.
yes,
Why, you ask? Because people see strength,
yeah,
they see resilience,
yeah,
and they want some of that.
yeah,
And they may not be able to verbalize it or articulate what it is, but they know, wow,
yeah.
John's really cool. I share this story about, I hid from cameras and mirrors for a long time and finally got to the point where I celebrated my paralysis on my face. And what happened in March of 2020?
Oh, jeez. Oh, no.
Wearing a facial covering
Yeah,
became not only politically correct, but government mandated.
yeah,
And I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to start hiding my face. So I took a picture of my mouth.
yeah,
I found a company who printed that on a mask. And I would wear that mask showing my paralyzed face.
yeah,
And strangers wouldn't understand it. But people who knew me
yeah,
would do a double take.
yeah.
And they're like, and I would see the light bulb go off. They wouldn't need to say anything
Yeah,
other than John makes a decision that he's not going to hide, even through a global pandemic.
yeah. That's a beautiful metaphor that you adopted there. I love that, John. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned strength a minute ago. I'm wondering how to, because obviously, and you also talked, I think, about, I don't know that you used the word, but a certain vulnerability, right? And being so open and real and authentic. And I'm wondering, how do you navigate that line between vulnerability and strength? And how do you find, or have you found that embracing the vulnerability actually makes you more powerful?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yes, you have to accept yourself, all of yourself, and learn to love yourself again.
Yeah.
And once you love yourself, what other people think doesn't matter.
Oh,
Period.
yes.
The people who don't accept you for you are, you say, thanks, but I don't need to be in your life.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in mine.
And for our listeners, I want you to take a moment and really hear that, really hear what John is saying about that. I think we are so conditioned to define ourselves based on external input. And when you can love yourself unconditionally, none of that matters when you're able to show up. I love that you shared that. And what would you say surprised you most? And you've done a TEDx talk, so everybody make sure to check that out. It's got
Over 1 million views, by the
I
way.
know, beautiful. I really hit. What were you most surprised about sort of public reaction to your TEDx talk? Because obviously getting 1 million views so quickly, there was quite a reaction. So were there any messages from the public that really deeply moved you?
Yeah, I mean, after the TED Talk, I went down and met people in the lobby. And I had people coming up and hugging me and saying, "Oh my God, you were so strong.
Yeah,
You were so vulnerable. Your message hit me like a ton of bricks. And thank you." I got hundreds of thank yous from people
that's lovely.
who went out of their way and waited in a long line of people to come and greet me,
Yeah,
just to give me a hug, a kiss on the cheek, and
yeah,
say, wow, you really inspired me.
I love that. That's so powerful. Now, you've already given us that advice about loving yourself unconditionally and not setting your sort of sense of self based on what other people may think or not. So for any of our listeners who are out there right now feeling othered, right, that they're seen as other, and they don't see maybe their value in traditional systems, what other advice would you have for them in addition to that sort of unconditional self-love?
Grab life by the horns.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Adults stop dreaming at some point.
Hmm.
You know, as a kid, you're with your folks or whoever raised you, and they have a family friend over, or they have an adult friend over, right? And the adult is introduced to you, and what is the first thing they say? Hi, Cindy. What do you want to be when you grow up?
It's so true.
Right? And
Yeah.
in my case, it was, I want to be a policeman.
Yeah.
No, I want to be a fireman. Wait, no, I want to be a rock star. And then I'd run in my room, grab my couple rulers and my air guitar,
Yeah.
give myself my own concert, and I'd imagine being on stage and
Yeah.
the land of make believe, and I could be there for hours,
Yeah.
just experiencing what it would be like, daydreaming of what my life could look like if I were a rock star.
Yeah.
And then we start growing up, and we assimilate the views of our parents.
Yeah.
And now we have a belief system, and we form a life, we get a job, whatever, we get in a relationship, we get married, we have kids. But at some point, hopefully you get to a point where you start dreaming again about
Yeah.
what my life could really look like if I had infinite wealth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you close your eyes before you go to bed and just imagine what would truly fulfill you. What is your meaning of life? In today's terms, that's called midlife crisis. And I
Yeah.
think I think midlife crisis is happening to people younger and younger
That's
and
true.
younger.
And I want to challenge our listeners to actually take that up as a challenge. Start today because it's true. I've done conferences as well where I ask people to set out what their 10-year vision is, what their long-term vision, and people think so small, right? We get so trapped in our to-do lifestyle. So I really challenge you tonight. If the sky was the limit and you put no limitations on yourself, what
Right?
would you dream for your future? So I love that point, John. Now, do you think that society is beginning to redefine? I mean, one of the reasons I started Art of Feminine Negotiation was this idea that we have got to start redefining what leadership looks like power looks like get away from power over people. And I'm wondering do you think that society is beginning to redefine what leadership and power looks like? And how can we maybe push that needle a little further to get away from some of those old judgmental models based on how people look or perform a particular way?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I go back to a phrase that I love to say, there is no I in team. Surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you or as smart, who have different lenses they look at life through, different points of view, and really be open to other people's visions and thoughts because you grow so much by doing that.
Oh,
And it doesn't turn out to be about what you can accomplish. It's about what we can accomplish.
yes. Yeah.
There's no way to fix the world's problems, and boy, do we have problems right now.
Yeah.
There's no way to fix them without banding together and supporting each other,
Yeah.
despite whatever your religious or political beliefs
Absolutely.
are. You know, we are human beings.
Yeah.
And getting together with people and talking things and getting other people's points of view without getting your back in a knot and getting those hairs up on your back of your thing. We all have points of view that need to be negotiated.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is
That
no
is,
right way of doing anything.
that is such a beautiful perspective. And again, for our listeners, I throw that out to you as a challenge that John sort of laid down the gauntlet here for us. Get more intentional, surround yourself with people who have different perspectives, different lenses, I think, John, is what you'd said. And I think that is such powerful advice to help you in your personal relationships, in your professional relationships. It starts to ripple over and creating sort of global differences and how we see each other, looking for that power with. How can we take pieces of the best of everybody's viewpoints to have power and grow together rather than power over each other or against each other? I'm wondering, John, like we've talked about I love your premise that our differences can be our superpower. And I wonder if I can ask you, if that's your superpower, what would you say is your kryptonite, if you have one, and how do you negotiate with it when it shows up? I know you do a lot of mindset work in your coaching business.
Yeah. My kryptonite, I guess, is everybody's, stumbling,
Yeah.
getting in my own way.
Yeah.
But resilience is defined as how quickly you can get back up,
Yeah.
You fall
Yeah.
and you wipe your knees off when you sit down and you go, whew, well, I'm not going to do it that way again.
Yeah.
And instead of just sitting there, you get back up
Yeah.
and you try a different tact.
Yeah.
I invented I just feel life is all about relationships with friends and family.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I invented a game called Rolodex Roulette. Now, for those of your listeners who are under, what, 30? A
Yeah.
Rolodex is this thing that has this little spindle and these cards and you spin it, and it's in alphabetical order and it has your contact info, right? So in today's society, of course, our Rolodex is our contacts on our phone. And the way you play Rolodex roulette is you go open your contacts, you turn the phone away, and you blindly scroll up and up and down and up and down and up and down, and you stop on a name. And that's the person you call that day.
Oh, I love
You
that.
don't text, you don't email, you pick up the phone and you dial the number right then and there.
I love that.
And you get someone on the phone and you surprise them.
Yeah.
Might have not talked to them for 20 years, or you might have had a conversation with them 3 hours before, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You call with no agenda
Yeah.
other than making a connection
Yeah.
and saying, hey, you crossed my mind because I was playing this game I learned from my friend John. It's called Roller Roulette.
Yeah.
How the heck are you, Cindy?
Yeah.
And and all of a sudden people are first, they're like, what? Huh? Huh?
Yeah, it's
Well,
true.
then the conversation starts big, and before you know it, you spent an hour on the phone reminiscing about old times,
Yeah.
and you both feel so much better after that conversation because you're making a connection.
Yeah. Okay, you've
And
got
then
to start a movement with that, John. Like
the
truly.
really fun thing about that, we all have those people in our lives that we had a falling out with.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't even remember why.
Yeah.
We just know that they're no longer in our lives, but their names and numbers are still in our database or in our contacts. And so this game gives you that plausible
Yeah.
deniability of reaching out
Yeah.
and saying, hey, Cindy, it's John. Wait, wait, wait. Before you say anything, I'm just telling you, I'm playing this game I learned from my friend John,
Yeah.
and I landed on your name, and I had to call you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. That's so
And whatever the animosity is, whatever it is, dissipates.
so simple and so powerful, like most great ideas, right? I
And
love
you
that.
have a conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll talk through whatever that misunderstanding, and 99.9999% of the time it was a misunderstanding you had that you took so personally.
Yeah.
But life's too short to throw away friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you rekindle the friendship. And
Yeah.
my advice to everybody out there, we spend a lot of time on social media. And we see someone that we know very well post something out of character for them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we say, oh, yeah, Cindy's having a bad day.
Yeah.
And they move on. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop and call them.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I saw your post. I'm concerned. How can I help? What's going on? Be present.
Yeah.
Show you care for them and that you noticed that they were crying out for help.
Yeah. And I want to pause there for a moment, John, to make sure, because that really just struck a chord with me. Because as you were saying it, I was thinking about times recently when I see people who exactly what you said. I'm like, something's going on in their life, and I'll, either text or private message them back saying, "Hey, is everything okay?" But notice what John said. He's taking we seem to have lost that human connection. So his Rolodex roulette is about personally speaking to somebody,
Yeah,
not text.
so important.
Yeah, and if you think
Important.
something's wrong, you see on social media, actually reach out to them. Don't DM them, but actually call them and have that personal touch. That's so, so beautiful. Thank you for that reminder, frankly, John.
Doing that brings people peace, and all of a sudden they know they're not alone.
Yeah, I love it. That's gorgeous. And I can't believe how quick our time has gone together. I could chat with you for another full session, and maybe we'll have to plan on doing that. I think we've only scratched the surface of some of this stuff. I normally like to end by asking, what's one of the greatest mindset shifts that you've ever had in your life, John? And it doesn't have to be anything that we've talked about, just one of those aha moments that stands out for you where you show up differently or see something differently.
Fill your heart with your art.
Mm,
Fill your heart with what you're passionate about.
nice.
Because when you do that, people take notice. People find you interesting.
Yes.
People find you attractive. And not in a physical
Yeah.
way, but in an emotional,
Yeah.
it's all about making those connections.
You become magnetic. And I want to again really ask for our listeners there, take a moment. Don't just let that wash over you. I want you to really take in what John's saying. There's a lot of golden nuggets here that if you take a moment to really embrace it, can change your life, right? Because we get so caught up in a to-do world, right? Here's my list of all the things I have to do today. And very few people actually are actively taking steps to do the things that if you knew you only had a week left on this earth, you'd be trying to cram it, live your life with that passion and purpose. I think that's a beautiful note to end on. So, John, where can people find out more about you and your coaching business and about
One
your
last
book?
thought. You said something interesting just now.
Yeah,
You said people have to. That's a mindset that I'd like to change.
yeah,
Instead of have to, change it to get to.
yeah, yeah,
I removed have to from my vocabulary
yeah. Nice.
because it's a twist on something that you may not be excited about doing. But if you say, hey, I get to do this, it changes your outlook.
Yeah. I love that. I'm laughing because I just had that conversation with my son last night. He was griping about something that he had to do. And I'm like, Chase, why don't you reframe that and just say, hey, tomorrow I get to do this. But it shows how deep the conditioning is because I'm just guilty of it myself. So,
You know, I'm a mind reader.
yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
I knew about that conversation. So I couldn't let that go. So anyway, my coaching practice is all about empowerment. It's about using the tools that I developed over that 10 to 12 year period and building resilient me and helping others find their own definition of being resilient
Yeah,
and taking life by the horns and just going out and achieving greatness.
yeah.
That's what my coaching practice is all about. So my website, I've got a few, but the master website is my name, JOHN KI, P as in Paul, P as in Paul, N as in Nancy.com.
Okay, you guys got that? So that's johnkippen.com. We'll make sure to put it in the show notes, so don't panic if you happen to be driving or working out or doing something where you can't get that down. So we'll make sure to have that information in the show notes. And don't forget, John's going to be giving you a link. So are you going to share that now, John, or
Right now,
okay.
drum
Take
roll, please. Get a free copy of my award-winning Playing the Hand You Were Dealt. Simply go to johnkippen.com/free gift.
Nice.
It'll ask you for your name and email address, and then it'll allow you to download a PDF of 200. And my book has great stories. I'm a storyteller.
I
It's
bet.
full of great, inspiring stories of amazing experiences that my life's work is made up of. And it's filled with inspirational thoughts. It's filled with amazing quotes, and it's filled with QR codes. And the QR codes on the digital version, you just click on them. and it transfers you to a secret area on my website where you get to see videos of me performing for Alex Trebek. We're doing some amazing things, to my documentary, to my TED Talk,
Yeah.
to learn kind of what I went through and how I overcame it.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful. So make sure to take advantage for our listeners. Again, you're being offered a free gift here. Please make sure that you indulge. So, and thank you so much, John. Like I say, we'll have to have you back and so that we can scratch off a little bit more. And you've led
yeah,
such a good life.
absolutely.
Thank you. And for our listeners, I have no doubt so much value here. Make sure you embrace it. Take the time to listen to it again. Maybe do it while you're doing your chores. Have a set of earphones in and really let yourself feel it. Maybe as you're getting ready to go to bed, and give the gift of sharing. Share this episode with other people who you think could really benefit from getting some value from some of these lessons that John shared with us here today. And before we signed off, as always, want to share some ways we can work together if you're looking to negotiate your best life and up-level your negotiation skills to do that. I've got everything from online to group to my one-on-one mastermind or VIP programming to help you better leverage your innate power. And yes, you have it, to get more of what you want and deserve in life. And if that sounds interesting, check it out at artoffemininenegotiation.com. Make sure to grab a copy of my book of the same name if you have not done that yet, Art of Feminine Negotiation. And that's a wrap for this episode. Until next time, go forth and negotiate your best life on your terms so you can stop missing out and start getting more of what you want and deserve from the boardroom to the bedroom. Until next time, take care.